everyone, it's Nehal. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be showing you how I made this corset top from scratch. I actually made it from an old dress that I had. And before I get started with the video, I also wanted to let you guys know that I figured out how to make my pattern digital. So I will link the digital link to my pattern in my description box below. It's on my Etsy shop. So feel free to check out the link in my bio to get this pattern so that you don't have to struggle with pattern making like I did. And with that, let's get right into the video. Okay, here are the materials I'll be using for this project. I'll be using some matte tape, some weights to keep the pattern down on my facing fabric, which is leather, some facing fabric, I used an old dress, an old t-shirt to make a mock-up, lining fabric, I used some old leggings, some boning. I got about 4 yards of Featherlite boning from Joann's, a zipper, it can be whatever length you want. I trimmed my zipper for this project, some wire cutters, some scissors, as well as an iron to straighten out the boning, as well, and a pressing cloth. I just used this old t-shirt for the pressing cloth so that the boning would be protected. Okay, so in order to make the pattern, I wore a very tight-fitting tank top, and then I laid pieces of masking tape over half of the tank top while it was on me, and I traced out the pattern on that. After that, I took off the masking tape from the tank top, laid it out on the floor, and then traced those pieces onto waxing paper. And now I'm cutting pieces out of an old t-shirt, the piece I made from waxing paper, in order to make a mock-up to ensure that the corset pattern fits me. After cutting out all of the pieces of the wax paper pattern out of my old t-shirt, I started sewing together all the pieces so that I could see how the mock-up would look on me. This is what the mock-up looks like. I think it fits me perfectly. I could probably take off half an inch on each side at the back just to leave enough space for the zipper, but yeah, it fits me pretty well. I don't think I'll be making that many adjustments except for maybe shortening the back. So yeah. After I was happy with the fit of the mock-up, I cut out my final pattern pieces out of the leather. My leather dress was actually pretty stretchy in one direction, so in this video I'm cutting the pieces on the direction of least stretch so that it does not stretch much in the horizontal direction. Also, I can't use pins on leather because holes in leather are really prominent, so you don't want to put holes in leather unless necessary, like adding seams. So that's why I'm using pattern weights in order to cut out my pieces out of leather. And I'm also not cutting any pieces on folds, so I'm cutting out all of the pieces individually for the pieces that need to be cut out twice. Okay, so after cutting and sewing together the leather and lining pieces, that's what the leather or my facing fabric looks like. And then this is what my lining fabric looks like on the bottom. And now I'll just be cutting pieces of boning according to the length of each seam in the leather, as well as ironing the seam straight in the leather so that I can put in both. So to add boning to all of the channels, I first measured out the boning according to each channel, and I cut it with a wire cutter, and then I slid the boning out of the channel, and I will be ironing this boning later under a pressing cloth before putting it back into the white channels that I will sew onto the leather. I sewed on half of the channels to get an idea of what I was doing, and now I will be showing you how I sewed on the other half of the channels. So in order to sew on the white boning channels, the white casing, I pinned the channels right in the seam of the leather so that there would be no visible holes from the outside because the pins are within the seams that I sewed in the leather. After that, I took this to my machine in order to stitch it all together. Okay, so now I am sewing on the casing onto the leather. Make sure to press down the seams of the leather as you go so that the casing channels are right within the seam, as well as use a thicker needle so that it's easier for your machine to sew through this. After I finished adding casing channels, I started pinning the lining to the facing fabric or my leather. In order to do this, I pinned the lining fabric and the facing fabric so that the right sides are together and the wrong sides are facing out, so that when I sew across the top, I can flip it out and it's going to give me a clean finish at the top. Okay, so after sewing the lining and facing fabric together, I turned it inside out, and after this I will just be sewing across the edge of the entire fabric from the top in order to make sure that the fabric lies flat. So here I'm showing you where I'll be top stitching, and I also taped matte tape to the bottom of my machine foot in order to make it non-stick so that it could run over leather. There's also loops in this video, but after trying it on I realized that the loops did not give me as tight of a fit as I wanted, so I ended up cutting off the loops and adding a zipper instead. After top stitching across the entire perimeter, I added the boning so that I could hem the bottom. I was originally planning on using a piece of ribbon as bias tape in order to hem the bottom, but that was not working out. I had to seam rip the ribbon from the hem almost 3 times because it just was not laying flat, so I ended up putting all of the boning into their casings, trimming the boning by 1 inch at one end, at the bottom end, and then folding over the leather and the lining fabric in order to do a hem. After hemming the entire bottom, I just basted in a zipper by hand stitching it because my leather is a little stretchy in the vertical direction, so I wanted to ensure that doesn't stretch on my machine. And then after that, I sewed in the zipper with my machine zipper foot. And this is the finished product. I think it looks really good. It's super versatile. I feel like it can be worn over literally anything, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. you all enjoyed that tutorial. Make sure to check out my Etsy link again below for the pattern. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, as well as leave a comment down below if you enjoyed this video or if you have any questions. And thank you again so much for watching.